The House chamber was unusually tense that morning. The hearing was supposed to be routine, a fiery debate on federal spending, but everyone in the room knew that when Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene was on the panel, routine was never the right word. Across from her sat Representative Jasmine Crockett, the sharp-tongued Democrat from Texas who had quickly built a reputation as someone who gave as good as she got. Crockett was not easily rattled. Her calm but fiery demeanor often disarmed even the most combative lawmakers. As the cameras began to roll, Greene leaned forward, her trademark smirk already plastered on her face. She tapped her pen against the wooden desk, as though she were drumming up anticipation for her performance. "Madam Chair," Greene began, her voice carrying a mocking sweetness that instantly raised the tension in the room, "I can't help but notice that Representative Crockett seems more concerned with soundbites than solutions. Perhaps that's what happens when one's position is more about headlines than hard work." A few murmurs echoed in the chamber. Reporters raised their eyebrows, already sensing this was about to escalate into a viral showdown. Greene's taunt was obvious. She was undermining Crockett's role, suggesting her presence in Congress was more symbolic than substantial. Crockett slowly adjusted her microphone. She didn't interrupt. She didn't raise her voice. Instead, she let Greene finish her monologue, waiting with a patience that only heightened the drama. Greene, emboldened by the silence, pressed on. "Frankly," she continued, flipping through her stack of papers theatrically, "it's hard to take policy lectures from someone whose political position seems to shift with the wind. One week it's about justice, the next it's about Twitter trends. Which is it today, Congresswoman?" Some Republicans chuckled under their breath. Cameras zoomed in, catching every flicker of expression across Crockett's face. She sat upright, calm but fierce, her eyes locked on Greene like a hawk waiting for the right moment. Finally, Crockett leaned into her microphone. The room quieted. "Congresswoman Greene," she began, her tone sharp yet controlled, "I would much rather be in a position where I stand for the people than in a position where I spend my days chasing circus headlines and spewing conspiracy theories. At least my constituents know that when I speak, it's for their future, not for cable news clips." Gasps filled the chamber. The Democrats thumped their desks in approval. Greene rolled her eyes, but the smirk faltered slightly. Crockett wasn't finished. "You taunt my position," she said, her voice rising now with measured force. "Well, my position was earned through service, through fighting for my district, through working for justice. What was yours earned through, Congresswoman?" Loud interruptions. Social media likes. Or was it simply the luck of being the loudest person in the room? The crowd erupted in whispers and nods. Even some Republicans shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Greene's jaw tightened as she tried to interject, but Crockett held up a hand. "No, ma'am, you had your time. Now it's mine," Crockett declared. She leaned in closer, eyes blazing with conviction. "And let me make something perfectly clear. My position, my voice, will never be diminished by cheap insults. Because unlike you, I don't measure my worth by who laughs at my taunts. I measure it by the lives I improve. And trust me, that's going to outlast any viral clip of you throwing shade." The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then, almost like a spark had ignited, applause and murmurs of agreement rippled through the Democratic side. Reporters' fingers flew across keyboards. Tweets began firing off. In real time, Crockett just destroyed MTG Live in Hearing. Greene, visibly frustrated, tried to recover her composure. "Well," she snapped, "at least I don't." But it was too late. The clip of Crockett's comeback was already spreading like wildfire across social media. Within minutes, hashtags like #CrockettClapsBack and #MTGShutdown were trending. And Jasmine Crockett, she leaned back in her chair, calm again, a small but unmistakable smile playing on her lips. She knew the battle was won, not just in that chamber, but across every screen in America. The viral clip spread across the internet like wildfire. By the time the hearing wrapped up, Jasmine Crockett's words had already been viewed over 5 million times on X, formerly Twitter. TikTok creators were splicing the video with reaction memes, and late-night hosts were already preparing monologues. In her office, Crockett sat with her staff, phones buzzing every second. A young aide grinned as she scrolled through her feed. "Congresswoman, you've officially broken the internet. Look at this, #CrockettClapsBack is trending worldwide." Crockett smirked but shook her head. Let's not get carried away. Viral today, forgotten tomorrow. What matters is whether people heard the truth in what I said. Her communications director leaned forward. They did. And they're responding. Our email inbox is flooded with messages from constituents saying they've never been prouder. Donations are already coming in, too. Crockett took a deep breath. She wasn't one to chase fame. But she understood something important. Moments like these had power, not for her ego, but for amplifying the voices of people back home in Texas who often felt ignored. Meanwhile, across the Capitol, Marjorie Taylor Greene was fuming. She stormed into her own office, slamming the door behind her. "This is ridiculous," she snapped at her staff. "I was the one making the point, and now everyone's acting like she humiliated me. She only got attention because of me." One aide hesitantly replied, "With respect, Congresswoman, the clip doesn't look good. People are calling it a knockout blow." Greene's face turned crimson. "Then we'll make our own clip. Edit it. Spin it. Push it out to my supporters. I'm not letting some freshman Democrat steal the spotlight." But deep down, Greene knew the damage was done. Social media didn't favor spin, it favored authenticity. And Crockett's fiery, unfiltered defense had been exactly that. The media frenzy. By evening, every major news outlet was replaying the clash. CNN ran the headline, "Crockett silences Greene in fiery exchange." Fox News, in its usual partisan fashion, called it, "Greene taken out of context by Democrats." MSNBC labeled it simply, "Crockett's comeback goes viral." On The Late Show, the host quipped, "Today, Marjorie Taylor Greene tried to clown Jasmine Crockett. But turns out, Crockett isn't in the circus, she's in Congress." The audience roared with laughter. Clips of the joke trended alongside the original video. Crockett, while amused, stayed grounded. In interviews, she redirected the spotlight toward her district's needs. "It's not about me versus Greene," she told one anchor. "It's about fighting for working families, fair wages, and justice. If my words resonated, it's because Americans are tired of distractions and insults." Behind closed doors. The next day, whispers circulated in the Capitol's hallways. Some Republicans quietly admitted that Greene's constant antics were hurting their credibility. A senior GOP member sighed to a colleague, "Every time she opens her mouth, we lose independence." Meanwhile, Democrats rallied behind Crockett. Speaker Hakeem Jeffries stopped by her office with a proud smile. "You held your ground. That's leadership. Don't underestimate what that means for your future." Crockett thanked him but remained cautious. "I don't want to be known for viral moments, Mr. Speaker. I want to be known for getting things done." Jeffries nodded. "And you will. But sometimes, standing up in those viral moments gives you the leverage to do more." Back home in Texas. In Dallas, Crockett's constituents gathered in barbershops, churches, and diners, watching the replay on TV. An elderly woman wiped away a tear. She said what we all been wanting to say for years. Finally, someone stood up to that woman without flinching. Young voters, too, were energized. College students clipped the video, adding captions like, "This is why I vote." Some even started grassroots fundraising drives, boosting Crockett's profile as a rising star in the Democratic Party. Greene's counterattack. Never one to retreat quietly, Greene launched a counteroffensive online. She posted on X, "Jasmine Crockett is all talk, no action. Democrats cheer her insults because they have nothing else to offer." Sad. But the replies weren't in her favor. Thousands flooded her mentions with Crockett's viral quotes, memes of Greene looking stunned, and hashtags mocking her failed attempt at dominance. Even some of her supporters admitted the exchange hadn't been her best moment. In conservative talk radio, hosts tried to spin the story, claiming Greene had baited Crockett on purpose. But the narrative was slipping. The truth was simple, Greene had underestimated her opponent. The aftermath. By the week's end, Crockett's campaign donations had tripled. News outlets profiled her as the new Democratic firebrand. Invitations to appear on Sunday talk shows poured in. But Crockett remained focused. In a speech to a community group in her district, she reminded them, "I didn't run for Congress to clap back at anyone. I ran to fight for healthcare, education, and opportunity. Yes, I stood up when attacked, but that was just one moment." The real fight is still ahead of us." The crowd erupted in applause. People weren't just celebrating a viral moment, they were rallying around a leader who could stand tall in the face of insults while keeping her eye on the bigger picture. Legacy of the clash. In political history books, the exchange might seem small. But for the people who watched it live, who saw a black woman from Texas shut down one of the loudest voices in Congress, it meant something larger. It symbolized resilience, courage, and the refusal to be diminished by taunts. As the weeks rolled on, Jasmine Crockett's star only rose higher. Greene, though still popular with her base, found herself increasingly isolated, her outbursts less effective, her opponents less intimidated. And whenever someone asked Crockett about that day, she simply smiled and said, "Respect isn't given in politics. It's earned. And I'll keep earning it, not with insults but with action." Sparkles. And just like that, a single viral comeback reshaped the conversation in Washington, proving that sometimes, the loudest voice isn't the one that wins. It's the voice that speaks with truth, conviction, and purpose.